Hi guys, so this is the final video for our class, or I think it will probably end up being the final video for our class this semester. Had a lovely thumbnail of my coffee, morning coffee. Anyways, so I want to go over a couple of things with you guys, most of all the research matrix, and we'll get to that in just a second, but I'm going to remind you real quick of the revisions that you did for me. You had two options. One was to do a short revision of like a journal, for instance, submit it today or Wednesday, and then the other option was to work on revising one of your essays, maybe the most recent one, for example, the argument essay, research argument essay. And if you took that option, it wouldn't be due today. You would have until Friday to submit it, but I did ask for an email updating me on what you've done so far and what you expect that you have left to do, just to demonstrate that you're working on that. So please don't forget about that. Remember, these should be uploaded in Blackboard, not sent to me via email. Blackboard is the receptacle for all of those spaces. You have unlimited submissions there, so there's no reason for you to email it. You can put it in that space. It will tell me which one is the most recent. It will allow me to look at them side by side to see what changes you've made. So please make sure you're putting it in the correct spot. Okay, now on to the research matrix. When we were talking about using sources for this final paper, one of the things that we discussed was the notion of a research matrix, which organizes agreement and disagreement across sources, because what we want you to do is to synthesize your information, use it consistently and with balance across your essay, and not just use like a sentence here, a sentence there, a sentence here, a sentence there from different sources. You want to use it effectively, right? Which means that the essay that you write is as much about the sources that you read, which is why whether it's a good source and not just a credible source matters. Because if it doesn't deal with your topic very much, then it's not going to be a good source because it's not relevant, right? Because it would struggle. You would struggle to be able to use evidence from it. So keep that in mind as you're going through. One of the ways that we discussed that you could synthesize your information effectively was to use a research matrix. And I've given you a template for one. So I wanted to discuss that real briefly. It is in the same announcement as this video, and it will look like this. I'll hold this up real quick. See that, right? Okay. Across the top, it organizes the information for you. There is author date because in-text citation is a requirement. Some people skip that. It's plagiarism. If you don't have in-text citation in a works cited page, you plagiarized. All right. So please be sure that you're using the in-text citation throughout your essay. It asks you to list the main point of the essay, just because you need to be able to know that when you're introducing a source. You may want to put that information in there, right? Key evidence in the essay, that's going to be where your evidence comes in, right? Major discussion points, that should shape the reasoning that you have for your stance or position on your topic. And then your response or your evaluation. So if you fill out every box for every source that you're reading, then you've got all of the information to write your essay all in one document. Now, I've given this to you as a Word document, not as a PDF, because I don't want you to handwrite it in. That makes more work, right? You want to research effectively so that you're doing the work as you go along, so that writing it is easier, right? So type this information in. That way you can copy paste it when you want to use it in your essay, right? So use the Word document in order to store that information. It'll organize it for you. And remember, before you actually write your essay, what you want to have in mind is the topic. You may have like some notion of what your stance is going to be, especially if it's a very heated topic. Things like abortion, illegal immigration. People normally have like a position already when they go into it, and that's fine, right? Just remember that you are allowing the sources before you to shape your opinion in some way, right? That's what you're using for your support. So you have to allow it to also shape and use that as your evaluation of it. So keep that in mind, all right? Means basically go into your research with an open mind. Allow them to try to convince you. If they don't, that's perfectly fine. But at least you have a way to respond to what is there on that page instead of going in looking for key points that may not be enough to support you as you go on. Okay, so keep that in mind. You should go in with the topic in mind, not your stance yet, or maybe just a basic feel for the stance, but with an open mind. Okay, from the essays that you read that are going to be the support for your essay, that's what should shape your stance for your position. All right, so my topic is abortion. I read 5 different sources on that. Once I'm done reading that, they've convinced me, okay, I'm pro-choice, but I'll concede that even though I'm pro-choice, I don't necessarily think that partial birth abortion is a good thing. Okay, It's okay to have concessions. Maybe you get that concession from the sources that you have because they toss that idea out and you're right and you agree. Yes, I agree. That's not necessarily a good thing. I don't see how that benefits anybody. Okay, well, now you've allowed your sources to shape your paper and grow it a little bit. That's where your development comes from. Okay. The reason that I'm telling you this is because there were two things where people struggled with in the last essay. One was finding enough support for the reasons that they had. They just couldn't get it. And so they ended up repeating themselves or not developing it or having one paragraph that was kind of off topic. There was just a lot of struggle with that. You are likely to have trouble getting all of the word count that you need because if you have your idea going in place going into your research, if your sources only discuss it just a little bit, you're not going to have much to support it, right? Because you're only relying on yourself for the information. That's not what a research argument is. However, not only do you get the benefit of good evidence, specific evidence for the argument that you're about to try to write, when you allow the sources to actually shape your responses instead, they may also tell you how to not only just add nuance to what you want to say, but also to articulate it a little better, right? And that was the second thing that people struggled with. They had an opinion on what they were researching, but they didn't really know how to articulate it for themselves. That's because you're not using your sources enough. Those people are already in the discussion, they're already in the debate, they've published on the debate, which means that they know how to articulate the reasoning behind it. Use those to help guide you, right? That's what sources are for. That's what research is for as you go into it. So please make use of those two benefits from the sources that you have. Don't rely so heavily on your own opinion. Allow the sources to shape that opinion for a reasoning behind it, right? And that will help you as you write it. Now, once you've completed the research matrix, you'll have a lot of information for you. Then you can free write, get your opinion down from there, journal, whatever you want to do, your pre-writing. Then everybody's required to have an outline. We've done that for every essay. That's a part of your English portfolio, and you'll submit it to me once you turn the final paper in, right? I've given you a specific outline for this assignment.